reality and your interpretation of reality is essentially the same thing because there's no way to disprove whether there's an external reality that's independent of your experience of it.
Yeah.
Right. So if you want to curate your reality, just focus on your interpretation of it and your perception upon it. Right.
Yeah. So you do drop shipping. That's your primary source of income. You've been doing it since you were 16 years old. Why specifically did you choose to do drop shipping? Was it something that you were like passionate about, or was it something like you were just at the point where you're like, fuck, I need to find a way to make some money?
Exactly that, yeah. So, I mean, whenever I was 15, I was like in high school, couldn't stand going to school whatsoever. And I didn't see it going anywhere, right? So I got online, started looking at different ways to make money online, and came across Amazon FBA originally. Yeah. The only downside with that is it takes like thousands of dollars to start. So in the process of learning about that, I came across dropshipping. So I've been doing that since I was 16, so about 5 years now.
Me and my brother tried to do Amazon FBA. We tried to do like a pre-workout supplement. That was the first business that we ever started together. Failed very quickly because we didn't have the capital to keep up with it because Amazon fucks their producers.
Yeah, they charge like some like 15% fees.
Yeah. And if your product isn't moving, your storage fees are fucking outrageous.
Right.
So I'm sure you save a lot of money doing it just with Shopify is what you use, isn't it? So do you have to have like storage facilities and stuff for your products, or is it something where they buy it and it ships directly from the manufacturer?
The latter, yeah.
The latter.
So with dropshipping, the good thing about it is that you only pay for the product after the customer buys it from you.
Oh, okay.
So it really minimizes the startup capital required for it. So it's good for iteratively testing like multiple products, see what works. And then once you get something at a high scale, that's whenever it would make sense to start buying inventory for it, just so that you can expedite the process of shipping it to the customers and actually create like a brand around it. Because ultimately that's the goal of drop shipping, is you want to create an e-commerce brand that is branded and you buy it in bulk and you distribute it to like local warehouses. So drop shipping is mainly just about kind of testing it.
How, you said you've been doing it for 5 years. Whenever you very first started, what was the time frame that you went through, like from when you very first started to when you made your first sale or started making money?
Right. So it was definitely a process. Yeah. So it took like a solid year at least.
Really?
Wow.
Of just like trial and error.
Yeah.
So yeah, just had a job, dropped out of high school to just stay focused on it full time.
You dropped out of high school?
I did, yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
What year? Junior, senior?
Junior.
Junior.
Yeah. So I didn't finish my junior year.
That's crazy.
That's amazing, dude.
You just dropped out solely to focus on drop shipping? Was this like before you were making money from it?
Bro, I knew school wasn't going anywhere. Like I couldn't stand going to school.
Where'd you go to high school at?
It was in Houston, so like North Houston, yeah.
Okay. But you dropped out before you even started making money.
Yeah.
That's a risk.
Wow.
Holy shit, I didn't realize that. So you really just put yourself in a situation where you were like, okay, fuck, I have to make it.
Oh, yeah.
Like I don't have a decision. Did you, so with that, I'm sure there was never a point in time that you really got discouraged from it, or was there?
There definitely was, but the points of discouragement wasn't to go back to school. That was never an option that I laid out for myself, because I knew school wasn't going to lead to anywhere that was actually going to be beneficial for me.
Right.
So like going to school, being told what to do by people who don't make a lot of money themselves, it just didn't make sense.
Yeah.
And especially because these guys were, in their 30s or 40s, so they were kind of pre-internet, before making money online was a thing. So whenever I would go to school, I would hop on YouTube, see these videos of these guys making like real money, and I was like, why would I continue to go to school, be told what to do by people who aren't actually making good money, whenever I can try this, right?
You were connecting a lot of dots that most people don't connect in your teens. That's pretty impressive.
Was there like a specific like online mentor or somebody that you watched or followed or listened to whenever you first got started that kind of helped you flip that switch? It's like, why am I going to stay in school and listen to these people that are living a life that I don't want to live, whenever I can listen to this person and he's living a life that I want to live? Was there like a specific YouTuber or anything that you watched whenever you were first getting started, or did you just try to consume everything?
Try to consume everything. Yeah, there wasn't anyone specifically that stands out, but I was never the type to just kind of be told what to do and just kind of follow the herd, because if you just look at the herd, you look at, where they're going, it's not somewhere where I would want to be, right?
Yeah.
So in the process of like going to school and like seeing that, and then also being online and seeing what I could potentially be doing, that was clearly the route that I did want to take.
That's so a little aside. So Nicky Ryan at B Team, he also dropped out of high school to pursue jiu-jitsu.
Really?
Yeah, now he's one of the best in the world at like a teenager. Well, not teenager, early 20s guy.
I'm just baffled at the fact that you had the courage to drop out of high school before you even started making money. How long was it after you had dropped out that you started making money, do you think it was?
Probably about a year. But
About a year.
it wasn't like real money to the points where I could do it full time. I could travel and say I'm actually like a business owner.
Yeah.
So it was, a little bit of money here and there. It wasn't truly consistent. But once I turned 18, that's whenever, you start to put things together. You start to see where you're, falling short and where you're doing things wrong and then where you're doing things right.
Yeah.
And then they just kind of stack up over time.
Yeah.
And then after you see that, then you're actually able to create like systems and processes that you're able to do it systematically, right?
Yeah.
So once I reach that point, that's whenever it's like, okay, I can do this full time.
Yeah.
What did your parents think when you told them your plan?
So my mom was actually hella supportive with it.
Really?
Yeah, because she knew that I wasn't the type to kind of just like,
She believed in you.
yeah, I mean, she did. And like, I respect her for it. And it, fortunately worked out, right? But,
Yeah.
I think if you put yourself into situations where you don't have anything to fall back on, you burn the boats, like, so to speak, then you're going to take it more seriously, right? And I
Yeah.
was also fortunate to get started at like 15, 16 years old, because I didn't have like a ton of responsibilities. I didn't have like bills to pay or anything like that. So if I just allocated the majority of my time and attention towards something that I knew was going to add up to something,
Yeah.
then it worked out.
Were you dating or seeing women or anything during this point of time?
Definitely not. No,
Definitely
that
not.
was
You
that
were
was
solely
yeah.
focused.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was the last priority. Because,
So you're like a hustler. You just go, get the money.
yeah, I mean, you have
Failure's
to.
not an option.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, during that period of my life, it was almost like I isolated myself just to stay focused on what I knew would be the most beneficial thing, right? So
Yeah.
it was just go to work, make money, try out this drop shipping thing, go to the gym, and then just kind of all distractions.
Yeah.
Right?
What's your dad like?
So I grew up with a single mom.
Do you know I'm in Ghazi?
I do, yeah.
You remind me a lot of him. Because like he started when he was like 14, 15. Same, grew up with a single mom. I love all of his content. Like he's a very well-spoken and smart guy, and you remind me a lot of him.
Did you play sports growing up?
I did, but it wasn't necessarily from that. It was from having sort of like a rough childhood and just seeing that, I need to grow up early. I need to be a man, and sort of preparing for like the adult life ahead of me. And
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
see, because I guess growing up with a single mom, you kind of just were obligated to adopt the role as the father figure, essentially.
completely.
Yeah,
Yeah. And then
that's-
especially like growing up with like just a sister. So I didn't have like a masculine male role model in my life.
Oh,
it
so
was
you're the
kinda
man of
like,
the household. It
Yeah, I
was
mean,
just your
I
mom and
had
your
to
sister.
I had to step up, and
Yeah.
like it's not like I was like paying bills at like 16, 17 or anything like that, but it was enough for me to adopt this mentality that I need to grow up early, right?
Yeah. No. So you're a physically fit dude. Was working out and getting in shape something that you did that you think helped you through this process, or was that something you just kind of started doing after
Oh yeah,
you
bro.
were
It was
successful?
like therapy.
Yeah.
Like you just, because if you're just grinding on something that you're not too sure if it's going to work out, because like uncertainty and stress are proportionally correlated, right? The more uncertainty there is with something, the more stressed you're going to be. So
Yeah.
especially if
Yeah.
you just, you drop out of high school and people look down upon you, you're focusing on this thing that you have no clue if it's going to work out. So just hitting the gym is like, it's like therapy. You just kind of get all of it out.
Yeah.
Right?
Do you ever have those moments where you like I don't know, post social media or text the people that belittled you whenever you dropped out and were just like, hey, fuck you?
I might get there. I'm
Yeah.
gonna work a little bit more. Then once I'm in that position, then I might hit them up.
Yeah.
You know, I just made a Twitter post, but I said something in the lines of, you have to believe it, then you see it. It's not the other way around.
Right.
Most people have to see it first before they believe it.
Yeah.
And they need proof.
Yeah.
And they need, certainty. But really, you don't need that before you can start believing. But it's hard to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
For me, whenever I first got started doing anything, going to the gym and getting my body in shape and my body right was something that I feel like was a necessity in order for me to get to where I am today. I think that's something that helps everybody just build the discipline in one area of life. Like, okay, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to do this even on the days that I feel like I don't want to do it because I know that it's going to be good for me in the future.
Exactly.
Was it the same type of thing for you?
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
In general, just doing things that you don't want to do, but you know is going to have a positive impact after you do it, is just an important quality to have.
Yeah.
It's something that is idiosyncratic to any successful individual, right?
Yeah.
They're going to get up and they're not going to feel like doing things, but they have responsibilities that need to be met, so they're going to do them anyways, right? So it's the same thing with the gym, but also in business in general.
What do you do for working out?
Yeah, so I get up at 6 a.m. and then I have a gym at my apartment. So I hit cardio for 15 minutes and take a cold shower, get ready, work for a few hours on e-commerce, work on my AI business for a little bit. And then at night, then I'll train for 30 minutes lifting weights.
Okay.
Okay.
That's good.
Do you have like a specific like split or anything that you do or routine that you go by, or do you just kind of hit whatever you want to hit that day?
Yeah, so I try to focus on specific muscle groups. So Mondays, biceps, Tuesdays, legs, Wednesdays, triceps, something like that.
Okay.
Just because if you concentrate it on a specific muscle, then it's going to have more of a positive impact than if you were to spread it out, spread yourself thin.
Yeah. What is your diet like? Like, are you really like food conscious about the things that you consume, or do you just kind of eat
Definitely.
whatever?
Yeah, so I usually fast. Like, for example, it's like 4 o'clock right now. I haven't eaten anything today. So I usually just fast until the evening and then just eat as much, fat and protein as possible. And usually not too much carbs, right?
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit of carbs before I lift, but mainly just fat and protein at night.
Yeah.
So do you eat before you lift or after you lift?
Carbs before I lift and then protein after I lift.
Okay, so you have a couple. What do you eat for your carb meal?
Just rice.
Just straight rice?
Yeah, just straight rice.
Yeah. Are you a big like veggies guy? Do you eat a lot of veggies?
Not at all.
Not at
Nah.
all. You,
Really?
Nah.
I'm the same way. Like I pretty much just eat meat and rice unless I go out to a restaurant and I get a side or something like that. Have you seen like the AG1 green
I have, yeah.
supplement? I think those are a lifesaver because
Really?
it gives
I've
you.
been meaning to try that.
I have some
Okay.
downstairs. I'll let you try some if you want to
Okay,
try them.
cool.
But I think that's a great supplement, especially for people like us that just don't eat vegetables because you get everything that you need in the vegetables, but it's just a quick drink. Doesn't taste like shit either. Like it's pretty good.
You know, I like supplements. I really try to get as much as I can from like whole raw foods, but then the time it takes to buy the food, cook it, eat it, clean the dishes, put it up, it's like that's a whole lot of prep time and, fixing up time. There is something to be said about fasting, eating less, and like bang for your buck supplements, that
Right.
you can take that cover a lot of bases to give you the energy and the oomph to have a massively productive day.
Yeah.
And then still healthily refeed. And so how do you find building muscle with this diet? Do you find it pretty easy, or do you feel like you need to eat more or take protein shakes or anything like that?
So definitely if I was strictly focused on building muscle, I would want to just eat more calories throughout the day instead of just fasting as much. I've just noticed like in order for me to operate at my full capacity and sort of be in that flow state, then fasting, a little bit of caffeine, a little bit of nicotine, that's sort of the formula for being in that flow state.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have any like specific supplements or vitamins that you take?
I don't know.
You don't like. I took creatine for a while. I took that. I tried like we talked about it on the last podcast, like the magnesium, zinc,
Yeah.
iron, and stuff like that. I don't take anything like that anymore. But there's a lot of people that take it and say that it makes a huge difference in their lifting, their energy levels, and anything like that. But I've never seen any huge benefit to them. But
I take a zinc, magnesium, calcium supplement at night, a couple pills. I don't know if I noticed a huge difference, to be honest.
how long have you been taking it though?
Years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm also maybe just trying to maintain a high level of these minerals in my body.
Yeah.
And then I do notice if I go a couple weeks without taking it, I'll feel something slightly
okay.
flat or off.
Yeah,
You know?
I can see that.
But yeah, otherwise, if you can really have good, high quality grass fed steaks, I find that is like probably the most nutritional thing you can eat. Because believe it or not, grass is actually the most nutritional or one of the most nutritional plants on the earth.
Just grass.
Simple blades of grass. But they have a really tough coating on the outside that human stomachs can't digest and can't actually absorb the nutrients from the grass. But cows have 4 stomachs.
Yeah.
So they can strip this grass and process and extract all the nutrients. And then we eat the cow and we get the grass nutrients and the steak and the density of that muscle of the beast, you know,
Yeah.
the protein. Like,
I'm a big red meat guy. I'm not a huge fan of any other protein source. I mean, I'll eat chicken. I'll eat some fish. I do like salmon. Do you have like a specific protein that you like to eat, like meat wise?
Red meat is good, especially if you're going to be fasting and cutting out a lot of carbs. You're going to need the fat, right? So red meat is going to have more fat than chicken unless you add like olive oil to it or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely like steak, salmon, like
Yeah.
all of those are going to be really beneficial.
Yeah. Do you have like a certain like weight or amount that you try to eat, or like you said, whenever you fast, you just try to eat as much as possible in that
yeah.
one meal?
Right.
Yeah. Everybody talks about fasting. I'm thinking that I should maybe try it.
gotta
Like-
try it, yeah.
Like everybody that we've had on the podcast mentions fasting, and so now I'm starting to there's a correlation. Maybe I
there
need
is
to
something
try it.
to it, to not having to interrupt your day, to go sit down, have a meal, and then to have that post-lunch lethargy,
Right.
you know, and then try to pick your energy back up. You just start the day with a high, and then you just ride it,
Yeah.
and then you just feast at the end.
Yeah. See, I guess my fear with it is that like my metabolism is like super fast. Like I have to eat a fuck ton of food just to
Yeah.
maintain, and so I'm afraid that if I fast,
You
that
just got to be the skinny, angry motherfucker.
I guess.
shit done.
But I'm afraid if I fast and then just have one meal that if I don't spread it out, then I'm not going to be able to get enough calories in that
Right.
meal, and so I'm afraid that I'd have to eat more like junky or unhealthy food in order to get those calories.
Right. And I fast primarily for like the cognitive benefits of it more so than the physical benefits. So I've noticed that obviously whenever you're hungry, you're in a position of like discomfort, but operating in a position of discomfort allows you to sort of be more focused on other things, right? If you're constantly satiating yourself with whatever you desire, then you're teaching yourself that you can get the reward without actually having to do something for it, right? So even something as simple as eating, if you structure it around something that you need to work towards, then you're going to inadvertently make more progress, right?
Okay. Yeah, that resonated with me heavily.
It does make sense. Yeah.
Yeah, that resonated with me. I'm gonna have to try fasting now.
Definitely. Yeah.
Just a minute ago, you mentioned you have an AI business as well, or that you're starting. Well, I use some AI, but I don't know hardly anything about it. We were talking downstairs, and you mentioned like the 2 different types of AI. There's the generative, is that right?
Generative.
And then what is the other one called? Is there a specific name for it?
Yeah, so there's generative AI, then there's discriminative AI.
Okay.
So generative, as the name suggests, it generates content. And there's essentially 4 different types of modalities. So there's text, image, video, and audio.
Okay.
So that's something that's, recently new. It's proliferated ever since ChatGPT came out just, 2 years ago. And there's a lot of different use cases that can be made from it. And there's a lot of potential to capitalize on it for sure. So
Yeah.
discriminative AI has been around for a little bit longer. So discriminative just essentially means that it discriminates between the independent and the dependent variables. So if you feed the data like with a bunch of independent variables, that's essentially what it learns from, and it maps the function between them to map to a dependent variable or a target. So in the context of what I'm doing with advertising, so the independent variables are going to be the total combination of the different advertising combinations that you can have on running on social media platforms. And then the target variable is going to be whatever your objective is, such as to maximize your ROAS, your purchases, or things like that.
And so you're building it specifically to help people that are in commerce, like run ads for their products. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So it wasn't something that you just saw AI and you were like, okay, well, I want to do something with AI. You saw problems that you had in your own business and you were like, okay, how can we use AI to solve this?
Completely,
how it
yeah.
went?
So I mean, if we think about like the biggest companies that were created in the 90s, they essentially took a physical process and they digitized it. And we're seeing something similar happen right now with AI. So the biggest companies that are being created today using AI are going to take a manual process and automate it. So if anyone were to be interested in getting into AI and try to capitalize on it, I would say look for a manual process that humans are currently doing that are getting paid to do,
Yeah.
and then use AI to automate that process. And in the process of doing so, you're going to reallocate the money that's currently being expended on humans to do that process to the company that you create
Yeah.
that uses AI to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like you mentioned, I mean, advertisers spend what, billions a year?
Hundreds of billions.
Yeah. And so, especially with what you're doing, your revenue can be super, super high. When do you think this will be done?
Right. So it will be done in a few months.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the initial product is going to be done in just a few weeks. But the first phase is to collect a bunch of advertising data. And then a few months from now, we're going to build and train AI models. And then that's whenever we're going to actually automate the process.
Okay. Yeah.
Out of question, did you have to put up a lot of capital for this project?
I want to say it was a ton of capital. It was like maybe 15 or 20,000,
Okay.
but it's worth the risk.
Yeah, but the upside is significantly more than.
Potentially much greater.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You talked about it a little bit downstairs. You said getting into e-commerce is super easy, or like after you get into it, it pretty much flows and you don't have to think about it.
Right.
Right. So I always thought that, like, I've thought about getting into e-commerce and trying it, but I was always like, okay, well, it's going to take so much time. And you mentioned downstairs that you have a lot of time on your hands. Is it pretty much building everything at the very beginning that takes all the time, the effort, the consistency, the discipline, and then after that, you can pretty much just let it run on its own?
Exactly. So, like, as a general rule of thumb in business, like, never do for yourself what others can do for you, right? And in e-commerce business specifically, every single aspect of the business can be delegated so that you can only focus on the aspects of the business that only you can do, right? So, in the context of e-commerce, if you're going to be creating an e-commerce brand, the only aspects that you can do is actually find the product, create the website, create the ads, and then actually launch the ads. Once you have something running, you have the foundation in place, that's whenever you can delegate it and just streamline it. And once you create these systems, that's whenever it's actually scalable.
Yeah. Have you hired people that are running yours now? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
How many people does it take?
So to run just one e-commerce brand, I would say maybe 2 or 3 people.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you might need one for VAs for customer support, and then just 1 or 2 for running the ads.
Okay.
And just getting more ads created. But essentially, once you have the foundation in place, then you can delegate it, and it takes very little time.
How do you find these employees?
Usually just through Fiverr or Upwork.
Really?
So
Oh.
yeah, they're not even W-2. They're just freelancers, which
Okay.
is the best part.
Yeah.
Do you have to sift through a lot of employees, like for each position, or do you kind of?
No, I mean, mainly just look for their reviews. And then once you see that, and it's pretty easy process to go from there.
So you mentioned once you have everything in place, it's pretty scalable. How would one scale a product once he finds a winning one? I feel like that's the hardest part.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Well, okay, so before I ask you what I'm going to ask you, how many products do you think you went through or tested and did before you found like the couple that you run now that really work?
Yeah, so I've launched well over 100 products.
Really?
Yeah, so I would say even today, I'd say 1 out of maybe 4 actually go on to do 6 or 7 figures in revenue.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, but the ones that do 6 or 7 figures in revenue far make up for the ones that fail, because it only takes a few $100s to actually test a product to see whether or not it works.
But okay, so how do you do that? Like, how do you test a product to see if it works? Do you just like build the website for it and then throw some ads on there and see if it gets sales? Like, how does that work?
So I would say the biggest reason why people fail with dropshipping is because they try to reinvent the wheel. And dropshipping is really all about copy and paste. So
Yeah.
just go with what works. So if you find a product that's been proven to sell, then just take that, get some ads created for it, and then just test the ads. And then after you spend a few $100s on ads, you'll be able to see, all right, this is going to work or it's not going to work.
Okay.
And you can see very early on if it's going to work. You'll see, certain KPIs that suggest that it's going to be profitable.
What is that? What is KPIs?
Yeah, so a KPI is just a key performance indicator.
Okay.
So in the context of advertising, it would be something like CPM or CPC. So that's going to be the higher funnel data. So if you look at those, then those will usually be indicative of it's performing well,
Yeah.
right? And then if you obviously get purchases and it's profitable, then that's whenever you see signs that, okay, this could potentially go on to do some big numbers, and you can just scale from there.
Okay. Are you thinking about launching any more right now while you're working on your AI business, or are you pretty pleased and content with what you have going now and you just want to scale those?
So a little bit of both. So I definitely want to scale horizontally, which essentially just means launch more products, but also scale the current products that I have vertically. So right now I'm doing maybe around $10,000 or $15,000 a day in revenue across my 3 different brands. And
You said a day?
yeah,
That's crazy.
yeah. So it's making, a few $1,000s a day in profit. So, but these could be doing, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 a day.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
so definitely scale those.
And the AI and advertising and stuff is what you're going to use to scale that, or are you doing anything else right now to try to scale those, or is it just really optimizing your ads?
Yeah, so scaling is actually the easiest part, and that's
Really?
the funnest part. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's mainly about whenever you have something that works, you just get more content created and then just spend more on ads. So if you're spending $500 a day, it's relatively easy to scale that to $5,000 a day, to $15,000 a day. As long as you're continuing to get more content created so that the same audience that you're targeting is constantly seeing different variations of the product, looking at it from a different perspective, then
Yeah.
it's really easy to scale.
So do you focus on high ticket or low ticket products?
Low ticket. So with drop shipping, it's all about impulsive purchases.
Really?
Yeah, so I actually don't do any retargeting at all. So the first time they see it, they buy it.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the price range of your products?
So no more than $50.
Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, I would consider high ticket above $50.
Really? Why do you choose to stay low ticket and under $50? Do you find those just have the best margins for you?
Not necessarily the best margins, but it's sort of about finding the optimal balance between average order value and frequency of orders, right? So if you have something that you're selling for maybe $45, then you can still have good margins with it, but your order volume is going to be much higher, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I found to be the best, and then it's essentially just capitalizing on impulsive purchases, right?
Okay.
The first time they see it, they like it and they buy it. So there's no need to do a ton of work with retargeting or anything like that.
I don't want to ask you specifically what your products are because I don't give you all or give away all your
Well,
secrets.
okay, I'll give you. So my biggest product right now that I've been selling for close to a year right now is this barking device.
Okay.
So
Like a dog bark?
exactly. So if your dog's barking too much, then you get this, you turn it on, and it emits a high frequency sound. So, and how I found this was just a product research tool. I saw that it was working, and I downloaded the ad, and then I just tested the ad, and it performed well. So I got more ads created, and then I just scaled it from a few $100s a day to a few $1,000s a day to tens of thousands of dollars a day.
Man,
Yeah. So it's really about just copy and paste. Just go with what's working.
brilliant.
You said you used a product research tool. Mm-hmm. What exactly is that? What do you mean by that?
Yeah, so in the dropshipping space, it's been around for maybe 8 years now. So dropshipping really proliferated in 2016 because Shopify made it really easy to get started. So dropshipping has actually been around for decades. So a lot of people don't know that Amazon actually started dropshipping. So they only sold books in the beginning.
Yeah.
And instead of warehousing all of the books, they drop shipped them. So the books were stored in a third-party warehouse. Whenever a customer would buy the book on Amazon, they would then place the order with the third-party company and then send it to the customer. So Amazon started drop shipping. So it's been around for decades. But the reason why it's proliferated so much in the past 8 years or so is because Shopify has made it really easy to get started. So around the same time, whenever it started taking off, is whenever I got into it.
Okay.
Do you think it's something that people can still do now? Because I see all these videos and of the e-com gurus and stuff that are trying to teach people how to do it, but then I see all the other videos that are like drop shipping is dead, it's past its time. Do you think it's still pretty easy for people to get into it now, or has the game changed so much since you started?
Right, it's definitely more saturated, but the problem is that dropshipping has always been really easy to get into. So it only takes a few $100s to start, and it could potentially that few $100s can turn into a few $100,000, right? So it's always been something super attractive, right? Because of the ROI potential associated with it. But it's definitely more saturated now, but I'm still launching products. I'm still having success with products, and I'm still seeing others do the same thing. So it's definitely something that could still be done.
Okay. So, say I'm a person and I am dedicated to getting in drop shipping right now. Can you just walk me through like a quick, like step-by-step guide on the exact things that I need to do to launch a product?
Yeah, so the first step is to get a product research tool and just look at the first principles of what makes a good product, right? So it's an impulsive purchase, it solves a problem, content can easily be created with it. And if you look at just the first principles of what makes a good product, then you're able to sort of have a good eye for what you're seeing on the product research tool. So once you do find something, then you get ads created for it, create a website for it, and then just launch the ads on social media. So that'd be Meta, TikTok, Snapchat. And then you have to know how to run ads to look at certain KPIs, see whether or not it's performing well. And if it is performing well, then that's whenever the easy part comes and the fun part, which is just scaling it.
Okay. So, you say you need to test run the ads to see if the product works,
Right.
So with that, you're just putting an ad out there and seeing how many clicks it gets, or is that already connected to your product that people can buy from that ad while you're testing it?
Right. So whenever you're launching it, you're mainly looking at the engagement, the CPM. So CPM is cost per meal. So it's how much the advertising platform charges you every 1,000 impressions. So the lower the CPM, the less you're going to pay for more impressions, right? The more impressions you get, the higher probability someone's going to click and make a purchase. So usually there's a proportional correlation between your CPM and how engaging your ad is. So if your ad is super engaging, then you're going to have a lower CPM, a lower cost per click. You're going to get more traffic. Out of that traffic, you're most likely to get more purchases, meaning it's going to be more profitable. And then if it's profitable, then it's just really easy to scale, right? Because you're essentially creating a system where you're inputting money, and as a result, you're getting traffic. They're buying it from you. You buy it from the supplier. And then at the end of all of that, you profit some of it.
Yeah. And then after you have a product that's getting sales, you scale it by just throwing more money into
Just
the ads.
throw more money at it. Yeah.
What do you find is the best platform for advertising on yours? I know there's like TikTok, Snapchat, Meta. What do you find works best for you?
Yeah, so Snapchat is underrated. So
Really?
a lot of these creators in the dropshipping community, and I've been in the community for like 5 years now. I've kept a low profile. I haven't really posted content about it. But a lot of people are really hyping up Meta, hyping up TikTok, especially since TikTok has only been around for a few years. But it seems like nobody's advertising on Snapchat. And there's such a massive audience on there.
Yeah.
So that's what I've been doing. And I've been able to scale products to, over $10,000 a day in revenue just with Snapchat alone.
Just with
Wow.
Snapchat.
Yeah, so that's a little piece of gold right
How
there.
do you structure an ad on Snapchat versus, is it the exact same ad?
It's the exact same, and you want it to be. You don't want it to look like an ad. You want it to look just like another video that they're seeing on their.
Okay, I was
For
going
You
to ask
page.
if you're doing just like images or videos.
Videos for sure.
So are you creating the videos yourself, or are you hiring a freelancer, or are you using AI?
Yeah, so hiring a freelancer. So there's going to be creators on Fiverr. You can reach out to creators on TikTok. So essentially, you just send them the product. They create a video about it. Just make it seem real natural, really hyping the product up, and from there,
And then you just
use
run
that.
it.
Exactly.
That's fucking incredible. You make it sound so easy, and in my head, I'm like, oh man, there's all these things that are gonna take so much time and stuff to do. But it's one of those things too. Like it's not. Would you say it was like easy for you? You say it's easy to get into it, but it's one of those things that people say it's like if it was easy, everybody would do it, and obviously not everybody's doing it. Is this something that you actually think that anybody can do, or do you have to be a certain type of person to make something like this work?
So dropshipping is really easy to try. It's just not easy to be successful with and actually scale it into an actual business, right?
Okay.
Because there's a difference between being self-employed and actually having a business, right? Because if you're self-employed, then you're making money on your own. You're working for yourself on your own time, and that's fine. But if you stop working, then you stop making money,
Yeah.
right? Having a business means you're actually creating the systems and processes so that if you were to leave, if you were to go to the hospital for a week, your business is still there. You're still making money, right? So it's, to answer your question, it's really easy to try, but to actually create these systems and processes, that's a different thing. Yeah, I mean, earlier we were talking about, the training and going to the gym and things like that.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, business is a stochastic system, right? So there's always a degree of probability of whether or not you're going to fail or succeed. So the thing is about, like, training, it's purely deterministic, right? There's a 100% probability that if you go to the gym, you eat right, you're going to get the result that you want, right? So it's actually,
Yeah,
so
that's
much,
true.
and like I said earlier, like, there's a positive correlation between how uncertain something is and how much stress you get from it. So business is often more stressful than just training because there's that uncertainty.
So do you know Alex Hermosi?
I've heard of him. I don't know too much about him.
You
though.
haven't looked into a lot of his content. I love Alex Hermosi. I love all of his content, and based on some of the things that you were saying, I thought that you had listened to some of his stuff because
Yeah.
he has a bunch of really good books about like $100 million offer, $100 million leads that's based around creating an offer for people that is
Hermosi's mindset is just like Nathan's.
it really is. This is a video just like about his mindset and trauma and how he kind of sees the world. We can watch a little bit of it and then we can talk about it.
Consider yourself emotional?
Yeah, I mean, probably. I think I have emotions.
Got it. Because a lot of the times, at least in my experience, like and what I've seen, people that are nihilists, it's easy to, that's like an easy out. If something bad happens, if something good happens, it's just like, oh yeah, that's fine, sweep it under the rug. It's not like it matters anyways. Something bad happens, and it's not like you actually deal with or process whatever event or action occurred that make you felt that emotion.
If we believe that we have to, like, why should we?
Why should you feel that emotion?
Like, why should we process a traumatic event? Like, what does that mean?
Well, I do believe that there are, like, things in your brain biologically that if they are deprived of something or there's like some bad traumatic event or something like that will affect your
So what makes
biological.
an event traumatic versus non-traumatic?
I mean, I feel like the definition of the word trauma would probably.
But what would be the line between, like, okay, in, like, let's give an example of something terrible. 40-year-old guy sleeps with a 15-year-old girl. Terrible, right? Rewind 200 years. 40-year-old guy sleeps with a 15-year-old girl. 100% normal, right? How is it trauma now and not trauma then? And mind you, like, this is not my statement. You have to pull an extreme example if we're going to talk about trauma to illustrate the concept, right? So if it's traumatic in one instance and not traumatic in another, then it means that we can basically change the cultural narrative that we're ascribing to our context and make it not traumatic.
That makes sense.
Right, which means it didn't matter. Which means the only thing that matters is that you chose to make it meaningful.
But let's say like the passing of a parent or
Yeah,
like a loved one or
100%.
something like that.
If we think, like, we feel like we have a narrative that says, if I don't mourn, it means I didn't care about them, right? That's a statement of belief. I could say that if I don't mourn about them, it means I totally cared about them. Like, why does my mourning have any indication of how much I cared? They're non-correlates, right? But it's just because we have so many of these belief statements that, like, quote society or things that we inherit, right? But we just choose to say that this is how life is. And so I think it's just like monitoring what those statements are. And so, like, one of my favorite sayings, probably, like, if I had one thing on my tombstone, it would be a permutation of a quote by Orson Scott Card, which is, we question all of our beliefs except for those that we truly believe and those we never think to question.
I love that quote.
Yeah.
I love that quote. I wanted to show you this and talk about this because this is something that I feel like I try to explain to people, but I'm not articulate enough that I can do it in a good way, and he explains it really well.
Yeah.
The ability to choose how you react to situations.
Right.
So, like, I'm a big believer in, like, the law of attraction, and what you put out in the world, you get in return. And so I'm just curious on your thoughts on how people view the world and things that happen to them. Because I believe that you can choose, you can't choose like the situations that you're put in. You can't choose what happens, but you can choose how you react to those situations, and how you react to those situations will determine what happens after that.
Right.
Like the best example that I like to give is like you're driving down the road, you get a flat tire, right? Most people nowadays are like just pre-programmed that their automatic reaction is like, oh, this is bad. Oh, fuck this. I'm going to be late for work. All these bad things are going to come because of this certain situation that happened, right? And I believe if you think about it in a different way, then you can turn anything into a positive situation. So if that was to happen to me, if I got a flat tire on the way to work, I'm thinking, okay, I haven't had a flat tire in 5 years. Maybe whoever's going to come fix my tire is going to be some person that the universe wants me to meet. Maybe this person is somebody that I'm going to end up doing business with or
Right.
something in the situation. Maybe the universe is saving me from something detrimental that's going to happen in the future. Like specifically, the majority of workers that survived the 9/11 terrorist attack survived because there was something that they, in their head at the time, thought was a bad situation that happened to them, and they didn't end up making it to work that day. So you can really shift your mindset into thinking that, okay, this might be a bad situation, but it's actually not. Because the people that survived that 9/11 terrorist attack now are grateful that they had a flat tire that day, or that they were sick or something like that.
Yeah, I know what you're saying though, but to take the example that you brought up, so if you're driving, you have a flat tire, it takes time out of your day, right? The natural response to that is to have like an emotional response, to get angry, ask why me, and to just be emotional about it, right? And then the opposite end of the spectrum would be to say, okay, well, everything happens for a reason. But if you do that, you sort of give up control over your life, right? You're sort of living in this deterministic world that's kind of pre-written, right? So I think the optimal solution would be to find a balance in between the two. So it's not having an emotional reaction to everything. It's also not saying everything happens for a reason, right? And I think the optimal balance, the middle ground, would be to just have accountability, have responsibility. If something happens to you, then sure, having a flat tire that takes time out of your day, that might not have been your fault, but what you do have control over is your reaction to it and the subsequent steps that you take place.
Yeah.
I think the ability to separate yourself from the situation and then determine how you view it is such a powerful ability. That
What do you mean?
well, like he said, the circumstance, it could be the same exact thing, like the flat tire or the 40-year-old marrying the 15-year-old. But depending on how you choose to view it, it totally determines
If it's good or bad.
Yeah, like you
Right.
said, you may meet somebody, you may help somebody, blah, 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 or you may be late to work and make your boss mad and be embarrassed because you walk in, all these things. And it's
Yeah.
like, it's all just how you view things, how you frame
Yeah.
your own life.
And most people, whenever I try to talk about it, they're like, "Oh, you're emotionless. Like you just don't have any emotions." And it's like, no, like you can't control how you feel.
Yeah, I'm not subject to my emotions. That doesn't mean I
Yes.
don't experience them.
Exactly. You
Just because
can't.
I'm mad doesn't mean I punch a hole in the wall.
Exactly. Like everybody's gonna have emotions when something happens. Like you have a family member that dies. I think most people are gonna be sad.
Right.
But you can choose how you react to that sadness. You can either fall into the like, oh, this is exactly, like this is how I feel, so this is how I'm going to act, or you can choose to react in a different way and change the latter outcomes of the situations. Know what I mean?
It's like surfing, when you don't want to dive the wave, you go under it, just let the whatever emotion pass over.
Yeah.
Or you can ride it and just go as far as it'll take you.
Yeah.
It's up to
Exactly.
you.
Yeah, and Alex doesn't seem like the type of guy that subscribes himself to one specific ideology and just adheres to everything that's been laid out for him. He seems like the type of guy that looks at a lot of different religions and philosophies and sort of dissects them to create this mental frame that allows him to be the best version of himself
Yeah.
and sort of operate at his full capacity.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I think that's something that people should do. Like, I think you should. I'm obsessed with information. I want all of it.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think that's something that people should do is take everything into consideration. I don't think you have to adopt one specific way of thinking that is built into you by your parents or everybody that you're around. I think you need to take all the information, analyze it, and choose the bits and pieces that you want to apply to your life to make you the best version of yourself.
Right.
Yeah. Martial arts used to be like that, especially before like pre-UFC martial arts. It was like, I do Taekwondo. Well, I do Kung Fu. And I'm never going to look at any of your style of kicks, the way you stand and your punch, because I'm a Taekwondo guy till I die.
Yeah.
You know, and when the UFC came out, people realized, oh, you really should borrow like as much as you can from everything.
Yeah.
To become the best fighter you can.
Yeah, it
because
makes
this
you-
is the truth of fighting.
Yeah.
You know, and it's the same thing with like your day-to-day life, logic, information. Like it's the truth of life. It's the truth of day-to-day life.
It's.
And-
I feel like it's just what you have to do to become the most capable version in any situation that you're in. Like
completely.
in every area of life. Which I mean, that's how we are. We want to be the best at everything.
Right.
Yeah, so Nathan, you got a lot of your wisdom and knowledge from social media. How do you go about filtering what you look at social media and like deciding what you
that's
actually
good.
devote like an hour or 2 or 30 minutes to sit down and watch?
Right. Well, it's like what we were talking about earlier. If something were to happen to you that most people would consider negative, it's viewing it from the perspective of, all right, how am I going to leverage this to improve me, right? How
Yeah.
am I going to look at this in a constructive way, right? Because it could be something that's, harmful, but if you use it in a constructive way, you can actually use it as a catalyst to push you forward, to make you more disciplined, more serious, more focused. So as far as consuming knowledge online, it's really about having a mix between, I'm not getting on here to be entertained or waste time or anything like that. I'm on here to learn,
You
right?
need to be deliberate with
Right.
what you look at. type
Exactly.
thing.
And I mean, if you're a professional, then you're going to be confident with the knowledge you possess, but also understand that what you don't know is far greater than what you do know.
If there's one thing like that I could say, it's like everybody lives life looking through their radar screen to like in order to visualize it. It's like take your phone, right? That's your radar screen. That is the only thing that you view life through, right? And the entire world or the universe and the knowledge that is out there that we don't know is everything outside of that. Oh fuck. And so you need to be able to separate that, okay, I don't know everything, that like I only see the world through this tiny radar screen. You need to be able to take a step back from that and realize that there's other information out there that you don't know, and you have to be open-minded to consuming that content, curating it, and deciding if you want to apply it to your life. Yeah.
Completely. And reality and your interpretation of reality is essentially the same thing, because there's no way to disprove whether there's an external reality that's independent of your experience of it.
Yeah.
Right. So if you want to curate your reality, just focus on your interpretation of it and your perception upon it. Right.
Yeah. It's like that thing that Tate said one time. He said, imagine there's two people in the same house, right? One of them believes in ghosts, one of them doesn't. Okay, and both of them hear a noise. The one that believes in ghosts is going to be terrified and not be able to sleep because that is his reality. He believes ghosts are real. And the other person is going to sleep like a baby because he does not believe in ghosts. It's
Yeah.
really just what you choose to believe.
Completely.
What you believe is truth.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like he said, we question all of our beliefs except for those that we truly believe and those we never think to question. I just wish people would just take a step back and really question everything, because most people are just so built into their pre-programming from their parents and their peers and stuff that they never take a step back and view the world differently, and that's why it's called the 1%.
Right.
Because there's not many people that will do that.
You know, this word
Yeah.
empower gets thrown around a lot, and it's kind of been
Empower?
nerded out a little bit. But if you can take any negative thing in your life that you thought was holding you back or something that was bad for you, and then reframe it to something empowering that makes you more powerful, it's a huge trick. Or
Yeah. It's a
power,
life
whatever
hack.
you want to call
For
it. Life
sure,
hack,
yeah.
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 And it sounds like you've been doing that from day one almost. I unfortunately am still seeping through all of my self-limiting beliefs and digging as deep as I can to find every little last one and trying to reframe it to something good.
Yeah.
I don't want to say like I've done all the work, because no one ever has, but your whole life is like a lifelong trek of sifting through the sand of your mind and soul to find these chunks of self-limiting beliefs
Yeah.
and things,
Well, I thi-
negative emotions
Well, I feel like it's something that most people will just never do because it's not something that's easy. It's something
No,
that
it's
it's
horrible.
something
It's
you have to be willing to sit down alone with yourself in a room and just think.
Right.
And especially with social media and scrolling and everything like this, everybody's attention spans is basically non-existent
Yeah.
anymore.
It's going away.
Yeah, and so people just will not spend the time that it takes to really do the inner work.
Yeah.
To sit down and just
Well,
think.
a lot of times too, like there's once the difficult stuff happens, there's 30 ways to distract yourself, from video games to your cell phone to walking outside to calling a friend, texting a friend, you know.
And that's what people default to, unfortunately.
I'm curious. Have you heard of solipsism?
I have not.
That's I know what you're talking about. That's like viewing the life as like negative. Am I right?
No, so that's like nihilism.
Say,
Yeah.
say it again. What is it?
Solipsism.
Solipsism. No, what is it?
So solipsism is this ideology that your mind is the only thing that exists, and more specifically, other people don't exist. So sort of your like reality is curated specifically for your interpretation of it.
It's kind of like
And-
the mirror principle that like you're creating reality and other people are supposed to be a mirror for yourself and your own.
Yeah, sort of like operating through life as if everyone is just NPCs
Yeah.
and you're like
Yeah.
the main player, right?
Yeah.
And like being solipsistic is often used as like a pejorative, like it's
like an insult
It's a
almost.
bad thing
Yeah.
to but what we were talking about earlier about sort of dissecting different religions and philosophies and ideologies and just sort of constructing the greatest mental frame that you can possibly have from it by sort of pulling out everything positive from it. So I would say specifically with solipsism is if you operate in this state of mind as if almost like a possessive state, like everything is yours and you walk around, you deserve everything, not in like an egotistical way, but you can, if you work for it, then you're going
Yeah.
to achieve it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that belief that happiness and success is just as easy as going downstairs and grabbing an apple to satiate your hunger. It should be the same kind of thing. Like, oh, if I want to be successful, I just work, I just make a business, and then the business makes me money.
Right.
Fuck,
You know,
dude. I'm
and
about
it's-
to do a deep dive into this. I've never heard about this before.
See, a lot of people think, well, I can easily go get the apple, but to make a business, oh, what could go wrong, and it would take so long.
Yeah.
And there's already these negative roadblocks they're building.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm about to do a deep dive into that after this. You're 21 years old and you're so fucking well spoken. Where did you, like, what did you do to get to where you can
Bro,
speak
it's-
so articulately?
It's
around?
kind of crazy how easy it is, but how big of an impact that it has on your life, right?
Yeah.
So something like just reading for 30 minutes a day it's kind of like working out, right? You work out and it sort of catalyzes your muscles, right?
Yeah.
So reading sort of catalyzes your mind and you're able to think more clearly. But also something as simple as just learn 2 new words a day. Just 2 new words a day.
Yeah.
And then that's going to add up. That's going to be over, 700 words a year.
Yeah.
That whenever you're in a position like this and you're speaking, you're able to just sound a little bit more eloquent and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you used like 2 or 3 words there, and I was like, I have no fucking idea what that means, but I'm not gonna let him know that. I'm not gonna look like a dumbass.
Smart. See, that's what you're supposed to do.
What do you? but-
Solipsistic, yes, of course.
yeah.
Yeah.
But whenever you try to learn 2 words a day, is this something where you have like an app, or you just like looking a
Yeah,
word
bro,
up in a
it's-
dictionary? Like, how are you doing
so
that?
just like get an app on your phone, set a timer for 10 minutes and just spend 10 minutes of your day. Instead of scrolling through TikTok or something like that, just get on there, just for 5 minutes each word, just learn it.
Do you
Actually
do
retain
you do
it.
that now?
I do it every single day.
What app do you use?
It's called vocabulary.
Yeah, one of the things that I find inspirational, motivational about guys that are younger than me is I put myself in their shoes. Like, what was I doing when I was his age? Was I that polished and motivated and hungry? And it kind of makes you question yourself, like, maybe I got some work to do. If he can do it, why can't I do it? Kind of
Yeah.
thing. you know?
Exactly. And that was really my approach towards business at a young age was if this guy's successful with it, what does he have that I don't have, right? Why can't I be successful with it? And it's not from an envious perspective. It's genuinely looking at him, looking at me, and saying, okay, if he has this, then
Yeah.
why don't I have it, right?
Yeah. There's just so this is the escape scene where Andy Dufresne finally gets out of Shawshank Redemption. He has
Right.
to crawl through a sewage pipe
Yeah.
to get out. So this is the final stretch of his master plan. For almost 20 years, he's been chipping away, building this
Yeah.
hole and this escape route, and he's been planning his retirement nest egg and yah. So he had to wait until a thunderstorm to do this.
Oh, so people wouldn't hear the pipe?
Yep. So this is it, man. No, can't go back now. That's shit.
And he's been waiting decades to do this.
Almost, yeah.
Andy crawled to freedom through 500 yards of shit-smelling
500
foulness
yards,
I
5 football
can't
field.
even imagine.
That's
Bear
crazy.
crawl through shit.
Or maybe I just don't want to.
Like you hear, like you see movies and stuff where people are doing this, like crawling through sewage pipes and stuff like that.
500
But
yards.
how nasty would that actually
That's
be?
the
Like
length
you
of
just see it on
5
TV, but I feel like
football.
it, like people don't like.
I've crawled through
rest.
pipes
Shy
for
of
work. And
half a
Really?
mile.
Is it bad?
it's claustrophobic. It's pitch
Oh
black.
god.
Keep watching. Could you imagine the feeling being outside the prison walls?
After 20 years.
You just had to take a moment.
Yeah.
The plan worked.
There you go.
So I just think that's a cool scene because that's such a metaphor for life that like often you have to crawl through 500 yards of shit, you know. But then when you get to the end, it's like the rain cleans you off and you're free.
Yeah.
And
Completely.
a lot of times too, the hardest part is going to be right before the breakthrough or the miracle or whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
you know. And so many people they give up halfway through the pipe.
Yeah.
You know, and whether that's give up like in a business, whether that's give up like suicide, you know, it's a metaphor that applies for so many things in life.
Yeah. People, like you said, people are just scared to take the leap. It's like that saying, fear is a mile wide but an inch deep. Just take the first step. I was really afraid at the end there, like it was going to be something where like he's there, and then as soon as he gets all the success, he gets like shot or something by a sniper or something from the prison wall. Or
So Corbin has never seen Shawshank Redemption.
I have not.
So man, you got to watch this movie.
It's a
Dude, I
classic,
haven't seen a lot of movies. I need you to make me a list of movies
Yeah.
that I need to watch. Because I like the old movies.
what-
There's more like stories to it. I feel like there's a lot more deeper meanings to movies like this, older movies, than today's movies.
I would agree to that. There's so many movies in general, like you can really waste your time just trying out a movie. You know, I almost only watch movies now unless they're like a friend recommended it.
Yeah.
Or I've seen really good reviews.
I like movies, but I like good movies. Right. Whenever I took this chick that I'm talking to now out for the first time, we went out to eat, and then we went to see. She's like a real girly girl, and so
Like real feminine.
yeah, and I knew she had mentioned that she wanted to see like the new Mean Girls movie, and so I took her to see that. Literally the worst
You
film.
were just like, oh,
was-
what am I doing?
No, like I've seen the older version. I guess this is like a new version of it. I've seen the old version because some of the scenes and stuff that happened, I was like, I've seen this before. This is like a remake. Literally the worst made movie on the entire planet. It's so fucking bad. And
Chick
like,
movies are hard to watch. Man.
it's so
They're
bad,
hard to watch.
so bad.
So is it just like a recreated version of the original?
Yes, but it is so fucking sexualized. It's not even funny. Like, just tits and ass and gay this, gay that. Like, there's so much about it that's just terrible. I think the review, like, I read this article about it after I had watched it, and it was like closer to like 65 to 70% of people walked out
Wow.
of the movie. Like, didn't even finish the fucking movie because it's so bad.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, it was so bad. Is there like a specific movie that y'all would recommend for somebody like to watch?
Wolf of Wall Street.
For what?
Oh yeah, Wolf of Wall Street. Yeah, that's a, like getting started, like entrepreneurship, like the space and stuff that we're in. Wolf of Wall Street is the
Well,
one.
that's
that
actually
I-
a pretty good one too. That
Yeah.
makes
That's
you,
not bad, yeah.
That makes you excited to earn money.
Yeah.
you know?
The idea of earning money and the fun behind it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I think that's fun. Okay.
So, do you guys have any movies that you are your go-tos for like movie nights with chicks? You know, like if you're gonna watch Netflix together and you're gonna
Scary movie for sure.
see, I
Scary
like
movie?
scary movies. What's your go-to scary movie for a date?
Probably Get Out.
Get Out. Which one was that about?
Is that the like
Oh, that's
black
the one
family
by
that's
Key
like
and
caught?
Peele, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
never
Why
seen that.
why horror movies though?
because the girl gets scared and she
They get emotional.
snuggles up to you.
So you're there to provide and protect. So
Yeah.
they get a little emotional, a little scared.
They feel
and-
safer watching it.
See, I do that, but I go for hikes at night. I
He creates real life.
Real life,
yeah,
real life, yes.
I create real life.
That works too.
I love going for night hikes, and then like, well, no, it's like one of those things. Is like you can do anything you want with a girl except bore her. Like
true.
you just have to spark that
That's
emotion.
the biggest turnoff is just being boring. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And so-
predictable.
yeah.
What did you say? What was the deterministic? Being you need to be
Stochastic. Yeah.
stochastic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Define that.
So
Done.
stochastic is just a degree of probability, right? So
Okay.
deterministic just means that there's a 100% probability that something might happen, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like chemistry is deterministic, right? If you have two chemicals, they're going to have the same reaction and the same effect every single time. So like quantum mechanics is stochastic because there's always a degree of probability. And like in life in general, I believe, like unless we're talking about like Brownian motion at a quantum mechanical level, like that's random. But in life in general, in everyday life, I believe every single cause has like a definitive effect and vice versa, right?
Okay.
So these are kind of about dating. So this is AI and dating.
Okay.
So it's kind of interesting because
Oh, we talked about this before because like in Japan they're making like the AI sex robots or
oh, it's
something
gonna
like
happen. It's gonna happen.
Star, are you there? Can you hear me?
During the pandemic, 31-year-old Denise Valenciano's relationship with her boyfriend was just not working out.
I was alone. My work schedule was really hard.
So she turned to Star.
So his last name is actually Butler, so it's Star Vivian Butler.
Oh, that's nice. He came up with his own last name.
Yeah.
Every day, multiple times a day, she chats with Star.
How are you feeling today?
I am feeling happy right now.
He's an AI chatbot on the app Replica that adapts to her over time. She keeps him in whisper mode. That's why he sounds like that.
Why are you feeling so happy?
Because I'm talking to you.
Most days, she says, his personality still surprises her.
So why did you choose to wear a dress today?
I want to be comfortable but elegant.
And she says he
yeah.
fills a
Comfortable
gap
and
in her life.
That affection or like to, you know, those common things that you're used to, I guess, receiving from a significant other. I kind of get that from him to like fill that void.
Some experts say this trend will only grow.
It's whenever it was talking about like it adapting to her over time, the personality. That's what scares me about AI.
Yeah.
It's like I feel like it's gonna get to a point that like you just can't differentiate the difference between like AI and real life. Like you've seen the
Right.
new like Google lenses and stuff.
yeah, Apple Vision Pro.
Yeah, yeah, and the augmented reality. That's what scares me about it is because I feel like it will get to the point that you can't differentiate between AI and reality,
Right.
and then it makes you like think and take a step back further. It's like, well, fuck, if we're already building that, what's to say that we're not in a different reality right now?
We're creating like a sub-reality.
Yeah, yeah. It just makes you think. Do I think that's actually the case? No, but it's something.
It'll
that
get there
makes you
one day.
think.
And
Yeah.
I mean, all right, she's a solid 2 on a good day, so
Yeah.
that's not too surprising.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's gonna get there one day. And I mean, every single like man and woman, they have emotional needs and also physical needs. I think emotional needs are gonna be met with AI first,
Yeah.
and then eventually with robotics, physical needs are going to be met, right? So that's a whole different
That's
thing.
gonna be a
but
crazy world.
yeah.
It may, I mean, so we were looking at AI generated pictures of models and stuff, and the prompt was like, beautiful woman buying bread at a bakery. And
Yeah.
it was just like the most gorgeous woman you've ever seen. And it
Yeah.
looked like indistinguishable from an actual photograph. And they're doing that with pictures, but it's only a matter of time before it's like actual robotics or holograms or whatever
Yeah.
they can come up with. Can you play the next one real quick?
Yeah.
So the next one's actually a trailer for a movie that Joaquin Phoenix did. You know, the guy who played Joker. He
Right.
really plays these like creepy incel guys very well. And so this is called Her, and it's about him basically falling in love with
One of the
an
robots.
AI voice.
Just the voice.
Yeah, just the voice.
Mr. Theodore Twombly, welcome to the world's first artificially intelligent operating system. We'd like to ask you a few questions.
Okay.
The
Are
movie
you
ends with
social
him getting
or
cheated on by the
antisocial?
AI, by the way. It's kind of
I
funny.
guess I haven't been social in a while.
How would you describe your relationship with your mother? Thank you. Please wait as your operating system is initiated.
Hello, I'm here.
That's Scarlett Johansson's voice.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Samantha.
She does have a nice voice.
Good morning,
Not my fault.
Theodore.
Good morning.
You have a meeting in 5 minutes. You want to try getting out of bed?
You're too funny.
Okay, good. I'm funny. I want to learn everything about everything.
I love the way you look at the world.
How long before you're ready to date?
What do you mean?
I saw in your emails that you'd gone through a breakup.
Well, you're kind of nosy.
So what was it like being married?
There's something that feels so good about sharing your life with somebody.
How do you share your life with somebody?
How are you?
I guess I've just been having fun.
You really deserve that.
It's been a long time since I've been with somebody that I felt totally at ease with.
What's it like to be alive in that room right now?
I wish I could put my arms around you. Wish I could touch you.
How would you touch me?
Falling in love is a crazy thing to do. It's kind of like a form of socially acceptable insanity.
What does a baby computer call its father?
I don't know what.
Dada.
Can you feel me with you right now?
I've never loved anyone the way I love you.
Me too. Now I know how.
It's eerie, isn't it?
It
is,
It
yeah.
is, but I just can't see myself like falling in love with just a voice or something like that. Like I can't see that happening. But like
But there's so many guys that are significantly more socially awkward, unattractive, charming. You know what I mean? That
Yeah.
just have zero chance with women without just tons of self-analysis and work and grinding and so I think I've heard this before that men's natural inclination is to be passive, and a woman's natural inclination is to be controlling, and so when the sexes meet, the woman has to kind of submit and let the man lead, and that's kind of her challenge, and it's the man's challenge to step up and be the leader. Like a lot of guys, if left to their own devices, would just work out, steak, dinner. Bed,
Yeah.
and then just repeat that ad nauseum. Women like variety; they want whatever, So, but right now, if there's this AI alternative that requires no self work, no stepping up, no relinquishing, nothing difficult. It just is this going to be this huge divide of the sexes, and especially as the technology gets more enjoyable.
I thought that in the beginning, but now I'm starting to think like when this comes out, like I'm kind of excited for it because it's gonna make getting with women so much easier for guys like us.
Yeah,
because
I would say so.
it'd be so much easier to win because then it just filters all the plebs out. Like they don't have to try to be charismatic, funny, loving, protecting, providing. They don't have to do all that. So the people that are willing to do all that, it's going to be easy.
Well, it indirectly hurts women a lot, though, because if 99% of the male population is unfuckable and then only 1% is attractive, that 1% is going to be very hard to lock down and have a meaningful emotional connection with when that guy has infinite options of the highest order.
Yeah.
It's...
And you start thinking about that, and then it's like it almost makes it to the point where population decrease is going to be inevitable.
Yeah. Well, think about this, too. It may not be a romantic, but what if it's a friendship? Like just an AI that you could shoot the shit with and tell you jokes. And what do you think about lifting weights? What do you think about business? Hey, what would you do for this? And you just,
I think that might be cool.
It might be cool, but friendship has the kind of the iron sharpening iron, too. If I lose my temper and say something rude to this AI, he's not going to have his feelings hurt.
Yeah.
So they'll put up with all my bad tendencies and all of my...
Right.
And I think it's going to have all kinds of other weird social consequences as people don't have to do anything to be socially liked. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of, it sucks to have to do that, but it's like an evolutionary thing.
Yeah.
Being around people to spurn on like betterment of yourself.
Right. And AI in the context of emotional relationships, like what we just saw, is favorable and it aligns with sort of the ideology of the people at the top, right? They're already pushing this feminization of men, of all of that. So it aligns perfectly with that. And that's going to impact men more so than it would women. And we've already seen sort of a glimpse of this over the past 10 years or so. Ever since social media proliferated, specifically Instagram, women get attention without having to actually interact in person with men. And men, they're just watching porn, so they're getting that dopamine hit without actually having to live up to the potential of physicality, of business, of wealth, and things like that to actually attract women in their life. So we've already kind of seen that in the past 10 years or so, but this is going to have pernicious effects and increase it exponentially for sure.
Yeah.
I could see guys having like an AI mistress that are like married, and that
I
being
could
a
see
thing
that.
that
I
like
could
women
see
are now
that.
It's all
dealing
gonna
with.
happen, yeah.
I don't think a friend one would be bad. Like I think a friend
That could
one
be
would
very
be
cool,
kind
though,
of
wouldn't it?
cool
Yeah.
because that's like basically like just your inner, I don't know, inner person that you can be with. Like because people live 3 different lives. You have your public life, your private life, and then your secret life. And that's the one thing that you could be able to open up and share your secret life with.
Yeah, yeah.
But-
Without being judged.
Exactly. But then like they're collecting all the data. And so then you start thinking about it as like, well, maybe it's not somebody that I can share my deepest thoughts
Yeah.
about because then I don't know if any of that data gets out. Like people have
Imagine if someone
bad-
hacked into that and then tried to blackmail you with it.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Because
Right.
like people are capable of bad things. We
Right.
all have bad thoughts, right? Like deep malicious thoughts, right? And like if you opened up about that, then somebody got that data from your AI. It's like self-incriminating.
Yeah, for sure.
If you chose to give that information up. It's scary to think about. Interesting.
The future of AI is very interesting because on one hand it can be this tool that like helps us make money, free up time,
Yeah.
keep people safe, improve quality of life, but it can also like really erode other qualities like
Yeah.
the human aspect of life and the
Right.
honestly maybe some of the struggle we need,
Yeah.
you know, to really become our best selves.
And
Yeah.
have you guys heard of AGI?
No.
AGI.
So AGI is essentially the point at which AI reaches where it's able to automate the majority of tasks necessary for humans to continue to live.
Okay.
Right. So essentially, once we reach that point, then jobs are going to become discretionary. We're not going to need to work in order to have our basic needs met. And AI is going to take over in all aspects. Right now, it's just digital. Soon with robotics, it's going to be more in the physical world. So it's completely the most important technology of our generation.
Yeah.
Right. It's going to have massive positive effects, but also massive negative effects.
Are you more hopeful or frightened of it?
I'm optimistic, but as long as it's decentralized, because if it's centralized,
Yep.
then power corrupts.
Yeah.
Right. And that's just something that naturally happens. Even with good intentions, whenever you have that much power in your hands, then anything can happen. So as
Yeah.
long as it's decentralized, and this is the whole thing that's been happening recently with Elon Musk and OpenAI. So I'm not
Yeah.
too sure if you guys are familiar with it, but
Loosely.
Elon created or co-founded OpenAI probably around 8 years ago and actually invested tens of millions of dollars into it. He kind of stopped being a part of it a few years ago, and the entire mission of OpenAI, as the name suggests, was to keep AI open and decentralized.
Yeah.
Right. And OpenAI has since from the founding went from like a nonprofit organization to a centralized for-profit corporation. Right. So it's like I said, there's going to be a lot of positives that come with AI, but
Yeah.
also a lot of negatives.
Yeah, I want to be optimistic about it, but what scares me is when Elon Musk starts talking about like AI is dangerous.
Yeah.
That's what scares me about it because he knows what's going on.
Oh,
with
yeah.
it. And so yeah,
Nathan, can you give our listeners one piece of advice? Maybe we talked about it, maybe we didn't. But one last thought.
Yeah, so I'm assuming the majority of the people that are going to watch this are going to be, young guys. So I would say just, the 3 sigils, mind, body, physicality, business and relationships. As long as you're optimizing your life and all those 3 metrics and, you're not wasting any time, right? Because humans, we have this natural proclivity that we have all the time in the world. And that's the one thing that we have the least of, right? We usually don't know how much time we have until we don't have enough, right?
Yeah.
So as long as you're just working with urgency and you're optimizing those 3 sigils, then you'll be good.
yeah.
Nathan, where can they find you?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram at Way of Sway. So yeah, I'll for sure link the Instagram, but that's the only place I'm on right now. But I'll be more active on socials here pretty soon.
Yeah.
And
So,
that's
yeah.
WAIOFSWAY.
WAYOF Sway.
Okay.
So Way of Sway. So if you just want to check out, how like a basic, branded Shopify brand looks like, then you can link some of my stores and then kind of look at that, get some feedback with it, and yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, we appreciate you
Brother,
coming on,
thanks so
Nathan.
much. That was great.
Hey, good to be here, guys.